It is 3:47 in the morning on March 4th, 2026, and I am standing here shaking. I have been standing at this window for the past 2 hours, just staring out at the dark, trying to talk myself out of recording this. I told myself it could wait until morning. I told myself people would think I had lost my mind. I told myself there were more responsible, more measured, more careful ways to share what I experienced. But every time I tried to go back to sleep, something inside me, something deep and unmistakable, kept pressing on me. It would not let me rest. It just kept saying, "Get up, say it. They need to hear this tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight." So here I am, and I need you to understand something before I go any further. What I am about to share with you is not a theory. It is not something I read in a book or heard from a preacher. It is not something I constructed out of wishful thinking or emotional need. This is something I was shown. And when you see something, really see it. You cannot unsee it. You cannot pretend it did not happen. You cannot file it away and move on with your life like everything is normal. Because nothing feels normal after an encounter like this. Nothing looks the same. Nothing sounds the same. The air even feels different. I want to be honest with you. I am a little afraid to say all of this out loud. There is a part of me that is very aware of how this sounds. There is a part of me that anticipates the eye rolls and the comments and the people who will say, "This person has gone off the deep end." And I want to acknowledge that part of me. I want to honor the part of me that holds some healthy skepticism even about my own experiences. But I have also learned something in the years that I have been walking this road. I have learned that obedience costs more than reputation. I would rather stand before God having said the thing He told me to say than stand before Him explaining why I stayed quiet because I was embarrassed or afraid of what people would think. So I am going to say it, all of it, and I am going to trust that the people who are supposed to receive it will receive it. Now look, I need you to do something right now before we go any further. I need you to qualify yourself, because not everyone who stumbles onto this video is meant to receive what I am about to release. But if you found this, if you are here right now at whatever hour it is, wherever you are in the world, and something in you feels like this matters, then you are not here by accident. You were not brought here by an algorithm, something larger than technology, something larger than a recommendation engine, something with a face and a voice and an intention for your life brought you to this moment, and I need you to stay. Every single word of what I am about to say matters. Do not skip ahead. Do not background this. Be here. And I need to ask you, please, if you are driving, pull over. Seriously. What I am about to give you is not something you can receive at half attention. This is not background content. This is not something you play while you are cooking or folding laundry. This is a word that has been pressing on my chest for 3 days and 3 nights, and it deserves your full presence. It deserves your whole self. And I genuinely believe that when you are done here, something in you will have shifted. Something that has been heavy will be lighter. Something that has been confused will have clarity. And some question that you have been carrying, quietly, privately, maybe even secretly because you were not sure it was okay to ask it, will finally have an answer. I have been in ministry for a long time. I have walked with people through some of the most sacred and some of the most shattered moments of their lives. Deathbeds, gravesides, empty chairs at Thanksgiving tables, hospital rooms where we gathered knowing the person was not coming home. I have sat with mothers who had just lost a child, and I have sat with children who had just lost a mother. I have watched families split open by loss in ways that took years to even begin to mend. And in all of those moments, in the middle of all of that grief, I kept hearing the same question underneath everything else. Not always spoken, often not spoken at all, but there, always there, present in the eyes of every person who had ever loved someone who was gone. The question was this: can they still see me? Do they know what is happening in my life? Are they somewhere watching, or did death end everything? Did it go completely dark? I had carried that question alongside the people I loved. I had asked it quietly in my own heart about my own people who have passed, and I had never felt confident enough to give a definitive answer. I had theology, I had hope, I had scripture that pointed in various directions, but I had never had a word, not a personal, direct, "this is what is true, sit with me and I will show you" kind of encounter, not until 3 nights ago. And what he showed me, what he said to me in those hours, beginning on an evening when the sky looked like the threshold between two worlds, is what I am about to give you now. I want to be clear that I am not a sensationalist. I am not someone who makes these kinds of claims lightly or often. I know what is at stake when you tell people that you heard from God. I know what trust is being extended when someone receives a message like this. and I do not take that trust lightly. What I am about to say has kept me up for 3 nights. It has changed the way I pray. It has changed the way I grieve. It has changed the way I think about every single day of my life, and I believe it will do something in you too, if you will receive it. I want to take you back to that night. I want to walk you through it exactly the way it happened, because the order of what he showed me matters. The sequence is intentional. What came first and what built toward the end is not random. He is a teacher before he is anything else, and what he showed me was structured like a lesson, or maybe more like a story, one that started in one place and arrived somewhere I was not expecting, somewhere I think is going to change the way you live, not just the way you grieve. So, it was evening. The sun was going down, and I was sitting in my chair by the window the way I do most evenings. I was watching the sky above the water. I live near the coast, and the view from where I sit when the weather is clear is one of those views that makes you believe in something larger than yourself even on a hard day. The sky that evening was doing something extraordinary. It was layered in orange and deep rose and this shade of gold right along the horizon that I do not have a word for. It was the kind of sunset that looks almost painted, almost too deliberate to be accidental, and I remember sitting there thinking, even before anything happened, this feels like a threshold. This feels like the place where two worlds are barely separated, like if you reached out your hand you might touch the other side of something. I had been praying, nothing unusual, just my normal evening conversation. Quiet and personal and ordinary in the way that ordinary is actually extraordinary if you stop and think about it. And then something shifted. The air in the room changed. Not the temperature, not the light, but the quality of it. The atmosphere became denser somehow, fuller, like the room itself was being occupied by something that had not been there a moment before. And then I felt the presence, that specific, unmistakable, completely unambiguous presence that I have only felt a handful of times in my life. And every single time I have felt it, it has been him. You know when it is him. There is nothing else like it anywhere in the world. It is weight and warmth and holiness all at the same time. It is the sensation of standing at the edge of something vast and knowing that you are completely held. I did not see a form immediately, I just felt him, somewhere in the space around me and also somehow closer than the room itself. And my first response was fear. I want to be honest about that. Not terror, not the kind of fear that makes you want to run, but a deep, trembling, this is so much bigger than me kind of fear. The kind that shows up when you suddenly understand that you are in the presence of something immeasurably greater than yourself. My hands were trembling on my knees, and I whispered, I am here. Whatever you need to show me, whatever you need to say, I am here. And he spoke. And the very first thing he said stopped me cold. He said, I brought you here because you have been carrying a question that you are afraid to ask out loud. And I felt tears start immediately because that was exactly right. That was exactly what it had been. I had been circling this question for months, coming close to it and then backing away, afraid that the answer might be something too big to carry, afraid that I would not be able to communicate it well enough and people would think I had lost the thread. But he said it out loud, he named it, and then he said, ask me. So I did. I said, Lord, can the dead see us? Can the people we have loved and lost, the ones who have gone before us, can they see what is happening in our lives? Are they present in some way to the lives we are still living? Or does death draw a total curtain, a complete separation with nothing passing through in either direction? And what he did before he even answered, what he did in the silence before a single word, undid me more than anything that followed. He paused, and in that pause I felt something radiating through his presence toward me. It was grief, not his grief, their grief, the grief of people who have passed, somehow translated through him and toward me, like he was letting me feel just a small edge of what they feel about the ones they left behind, and it was overwhelming. And then he said very quietly, I am going to show you 7 things, and when I am done, you will never carry this question the same way again. 7 things. I knew immediately the way you know things in those moments, that these were not random, they were ordered, they were building. And he told me before we even began that the 7th one, the final one, would be the one that reaches into the living and changes something. So I settled in, and he began. The first thing he showed me was a vast, luminous space. I cannot describe it architecturally because it did not have architecture the way we think about it. It was open and full of light that seemed to come from everywhere at once, rather than from any single source. There were no shadows anywhere, and in this space were people. Hundreds of them, thousands maybe. And what struck me immediately was not how many there were, it was how awake they were, how present, how engaged. Every person I could see was alert in a way that made our most awake moments here on Earth look like sleepwalking by comparison. And he said to me, "The first thing I want you to understand is this. Death is not sleep. Death is not a dimming. It is not a waiting room with the lights turned low and the volume turned down." He said, "The limitations of the physical body are what made their awareness here seem limited. But the body is gone now, and without those limitations, they perceive things, they understand things, they experience things in ways that were simply not available to them while they were in the flesh." He showed me a woman in that space. I did not recognize her. She was standing very still and she was weeping. But her tears were not sad tears. They were the tears of someone who has just, after a very long time, finally understood. She was watching something, a scene from her life, or maybe from the lives of the people she had left behind. And as she watched it, pieces were falling into place for her. Things that made no sense while she was living them were suddenly making sense. The why of it, the how it all connected. And he said to me, from where they are, they see the whole story, not just the chapter they inhabited while they were alive, the complete arc, the how it connects, the where it was always going. They have a vantage point that you do not have yet. And from that vantage point, a lot of what was painful and confusing and seemingly random becomes something else entirely. The second thing he showed me, I want to be very precise about, because I think there are misunderstandings in both directions, and he was careful to correct both of them. He took me back to that luminous space, and he showed me people, not all of them, but specific people who were turned toward Earth, who were watching. And he said immediately, before I could form a question, "They are not haunting, they are not hovering, they are not trapped between two worlds." He was very clear. He said, "Where they are is not a waiting room. It is a full and real and meaningful existence. And most of what happens there has nothing to do with what is happening here." But he said there are moments, specific, significant, chosen moments where they are allowed to see, where they are shown what is unfolding in the lives of the ones they loved. He said, "I am the one who filters this. I am the one who decides what they witness." And he said, "I show them the moments that matter most, the moments of decision, the moments of breakthrough, the milestones, the answers to the prayers that were prayed before they went home." And then he said something I had to repeat back to him because I needed to be sure I had heard it right. He said, "Do you think a woman who spent 40 years on her knees praying for her grandchildren to come to faith does not witness the moment that faith arrives? Do you think she is absent from that altar?" And I started to cry, because I have a grandmother who prayed like that, a grandmother who spent decades on her knees over children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, who wept for us, who fasted for us, who never stopped believing even when there was very little visible evidence that her prayers were doing anything at all. She died without seeing all of those prayers answered, or so I thought. He said she knows. He said the fruit of prayers prayed in faith does not disappear when the one who prayed them crosses over. Those prayers are still moving, and the people who prayed them are honored with the witness of the answers. They get to see it, they get to know. And I have to tell you, that wrecked me in the best possible way. The idea that she knows, that she has seen, that she was somehow present for the moments her decades of intercession produced. I did not have a word for what I felt in that moment. Now, let me check in with you right here, because I know this is landing differently for different people watching this. Some of you have been crying since the first few minutes. Some of you are skeptical, trying to figure out whether this is emotionally constructed or whether it is real, and I want to speak to both groups. To those who are weeping, do not shut that down. What you are feeling is not weakness. It is your spirit recognizing something that your mind has not fully processed yet. That emotion is information. And to those sitting back with arms crossed, I understand. I have been you, but I am asking you to stay. Because the third and fourth and especially the seventh thing is going to move from the emotional into something very specific, something that asks something of you directly, so stay with me. The third thing he showed me was not a vision, it was a question he asked me, and sometimes the most powerful thing he does is not what he shows, but what he asks. He turned, and even though I could not fully see his face, I knew he was looking directly at me, and he said, "Do you know why this question matters so much to you?" And I said, "Because I have lost people I love." And he said, "Yes." "And because you know that they loved you." And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Then hear me carefully. Love does not become past tense. The love that they had for you while they were alive did not stay here when they left. It went with them. And where they are, love is not diminished. It is clarified, purified of everything that complicated it on earth. What remains is the essential, undiluted version of what they felt for you." And then he said something that made me grip the armrests of my chair hard. He said, they are not waiting for you the way someone waits passively at an airport. He said, the cloud of witnesses you read about in Hebrews is not a poetic metaphor. It is a description of a reality. They see the race you are running, every mile of it, and they are not neutral about how you finish. They want you to finish. They are for you in ways that are more concentrated and more pure than anything they could express while they were on this earth. I thought of Hebrews 12, verse 1. Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. I have read that hundreds of times. I always read it kind of abstractly, like the saints of old are somewhere vaguely rooting for humanity in general, but he was making it personal. He was telling me the cloud is not abstract. It is made up of specific people, people you knew, people whose voices you can still hear in your memory, people who prayed your name. They are in the witness, they see your race, and they are not watching passively, they are cheering. The fourth thing, he showed me two people standing side by side in that luminous place. Both of them were looking toward Earth. Both of them were watching someone. The first was watching someone going through devastation. I mean real, specific, grinding devastation. A marriage ending, a job lost, a diagnosis that changed everything overnight, seasons of pain that had gone on so long the person going through them had started to wonder if they would ever come out. And the one watching from the cloud was not watching with anxiety, not with despair. They were watching with something I can only describe as fierce, forward-leaning hope. Like someone watching a surgery who knows beyond any doubt that the outcome will be healing, who does not flinch at the hard parts because they can already see what the hard parts are building toward. And he said, they do not experience your pain the way you experience your pain. They see where it is going. They see what it is producing in you. They see the version of you that exists on the other side of this, and they know that version could not have existed without the fire. From their vantage point, your hardest seasons are not tragedies, they are formations, and their response to watching you go through them is not despair. It is a holy, knowing, fierce expectation. And the second person in that pair was watching something completely different, watching someone who had come through, who had crossed from the hard season into the open place, who was standing in the life, the actual life, that had been prayed over and believed for across years and maybe decades. And what I saw in that witness in that moment, I cannot fully describe. It was not polite satisfaction. It was the kind of joy you have when everything you poured yourself into, everything you gave your knees and your tears and your faith to, finally opens into reality. He said, when you win, when you cross a threshold that someone prayed you toward, they know. And the celebration in that place over your breakthroughs is something that would humble you deeply if you could see it. The fifth thing he showed me is the one I want to be most careful about because it is easy to take it in the wrong direction. He showed me, within that luminous space, people who were carrying something. Not condemned, not outside of the good place. They were in the light, but they were carrying a weight, and he said that is love watching choices it cannot agree with. That is love that has not stopped caring, watching someone it loves move towards something that will cost them. And I said, Lord, are you saying they can see when we go wrong? And he paused, and he said, they see what I allow them to see. I govern this. I do not let them see everything. I am not cruel, and they are not meant to carry suffering they cannot change from where they are. But I also do not completely shield love from the reality of the ones it loves. And he said, I want you to sit with a question. If you actually knew in your bones and not just in your theology, that the person who loved you most and who has passed could see the choice you are sitting in right now, would it change what you decide? Would it change what you do in the dark when you think no one is looking? And I had to be honest. Yes. The answer was yes. There are things I would not do, choices I would make differently, if I truly believed in my bones that people who loved me and prayed for me and who are now witnessing my life were watching in those moments. And he said, let that be a gift, not a burden, not condemnation, a gift. Because condemnation is not the purpose. The purpose is love, the awareness that you are not alone, that the people who invested in you, who wept for you, who wanted things for your life that you have not yet walked into, are watching. And that awareness, if you let it, can call you higher, not by guilt, by love. The sixth thing broke me open the most completely, and I am going to try to describe it, but I want you to know that I feel inadequate to translate this into language. He showed me the moments right after someone dies, the first moments of arrival in that place. And specifically, he showed me the moment those who have just arrived realize what they have left behind, the people, the ones still walking the earth, the children, the spouses, the friends, the siblings, the ones who are now carrying the absence. And in those first moments of arrival, when the reality of the separation settles in, There is grief, real, genuine, present grief, not grief for where they have arrived. They are surrounded by light and love and everything good and right and true. Their grief in that moment is entirely for the ones still here. It is the grief of love that has had to let go of proximity without letting go of the person. And he said to me, in that moment, the deepest prayer of every person who crosses over and who loves someone still on earth is the same prayer. It is this: tell them I am okay. Tell them I am more than okay. Tell them not to stop believing. Tell them to finish strong. Tell them that the love did not go anywhere. Tell them that what we had was real, and it is still real, and it is never going to be past tense. And I wept, because I know what it is to stand at a grave and just need to know. I know what it is to sit in a quiet house after the service, after the guests have gone home, and just need somebody to tell you that they are all right, that they made it, that they know how much you love them, that the love you feel still, the love that did not stop just because they are gone, is not one-sided. And he was saying, for those who died in faith, for those who finished their race believing, the answer to all of those questions is yes. They are okay. They know. The love is not one-sided. And their greatest wish for you is that you would know it too, that you would not spend the rest of your life grieving as though everything is loss, as though the relationship is only a memory, as though love that real and that long and that specific could just stop when the breath does. It does not stop. The expression of it changes. The proximity changes, but it does not stop. I told you at the beginning that the seventh thing was the one that would change everything. And I want you to take a breath right now. Seriously, take a slow breath, because I said everything else was building toward this, and it was. But the seventh thing is not more information about what the dead see or where they are or how they experience their existence. The seventh thing is entirely about you. It is entirely about the living. It is the thing that all six of the previous things were scaffolding, and if you have stayed this whole time, if you have been here through all of it, you are ready. He showed me a mirror, not literally, but a moment of seeing myself clearly, seeing the person still here, still running, still in the middle of the race. And he said to me, the question you came with was the wrong question, or more precisely, it was only half of the right question. You asked, can the dead see the living? But the full question, the question I want you to sit with is this: because they can see, because they are watching, because the love they had for you did not die when they did. How are you living? What are you doing with the life that someone prayed over? What are you doing with the days that someone believed for, when they could not see the evidence of those days ever arriving? What are you doing with the race that people who are now in the cloud spent years on their knees preparing for you to run? He said the awareness that you are being witnessed should not produce anxiety in you. It should not produce a performance. It should produce intention. It should produce the decision to live like your life means something to someone, because it does, because you are somebody's answered prayer, because you are the reason someone's knees were worn out on this earth, because there are people in the cloud watching your race who remember every prayer they prayed when they were here, and they want to see those prayers land. They want to see the thing they believed for become the thing you actually walk into. And then he said something that I felt in my bones. He said, some of you are wasting the life that someone died praying for. I want to be very careful about how I say this. He was not saying it with accusation. He was not saying it with shame. He was saying it with grief, with love. The way a father might say to a son who has drifted, you do not even know what was invested in you. You do not even know the prayers. You do not even know the nights. You do not even know what it cost someone to keep believing for your life when there was nothing visible to point to. And I do not want you to waste it. Not because I am keeping score, but because you were made for more than this. And the people watching from that cloud know it, and they are waiting to see you remember it. So I want to be very direct with you now, because this is the moment where this message either moves you for 15 minutes or changes a trajectory. This is the moment where what you do with it determines what it was worth, so hear me. If your grandmother prayed for your salvation and then went home before she saw it take root, she is in the cloud, she is watching, she has not given up on you. She prayed it then, and something of that prayer is still moving. If your father believed for your marriage, if he prayed over that relationship and then died before he saw it restored, do not give up on the marriage. He has not. He is watching from a place where he can see what you cannot see, and he is for your marriage in ways that your grief has not let you acknowledge. If your best friend, the one who believed in your purpose before you did, if that person went home before they saw what they believed for, they have not stopped believing. They are just believing it from a different room now. This is why the enemy works so hard to make death feel like total disconnection. Not because there is no hope, but because there is so much hope, and he knows it. Because the memory of the people who loved us, the awareness of their prayers, the knowledge that they are cheering us from that cloud, all of that is fuel. All of that is motivation. All of that is the kind of fire that makes you get up when you want to quit. And if he can cut you off from that, if he can make death feel like the love died with the body, then he has stolen something from you that was meant to carry you across the finish line. So he does. He uses the grief. He uses the silence of the empty seat. He lets the absence speak so loudly that you forget anything was ever spoken there. He lets you drift into living as though the relationship ended when the breath ended. And if you believe that, if you carry that, you are running the race with a weight you were never meant to carry and without a fuel source that was always meant to be yours. I want to tell you something else he said, something that I have been sitting with for 3 days, and that I think some people watching this need to hear specifically. He said, there are people on earth right now who are living beneath the ceiling of the life that was prayed for them because they have decided that no one is watching. They have decided that in the absence of the person who believed in them, there is no more witness. There is no more accountability to the dream. There is no one left who remembers what was invested in them. And so they have quietly contracted. They have gotten smaller. They have settled for a version of their life that the prayers of the departed never agreed to. And he said, I want you to tell them this. The agreement is still active. The investment did not expire. The prayers that were prayed before the breath stopped are not sitting in a holding file waiting to be validated. They are still moving. They are still working in the earth. And the person who prayed them is watching to see when the ground breaks open. They are watching to see you receive what they spent themselves believing for. And you contracting, you getting smaller, you quitting on the thing that their prayers set in motion is not a private decision. It is witnessed, it is felt, and it does not have to be the end of the story. So I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. Is there something you quit? Not publicly, not with an announcement, but quietly. Something you just stopped doing one day because the person who believed in it more than you did was gone, and the belief did not seem to transfer. A calling, a business, a marriage, a ministry, a dream that had someone else's fingerprints all over it because they were the first one to see it. Did you put it down when you put them in the ground? And is it still there? Is it still waiting? Because if it is, I want to tell you something. It is not too late. The prayers are still good. The investment is still valid. And the witness in the cloud is still leaning in, still hoping, still expectant. You are not too far behind to finish. You are not too damaged to be restored. You are not too ordinary to carry something extraordinary because the prayers prayed over you were extraordinary. And prayers like that do not land on ordinary ground. They make the ground sacred. They make you a person of destiny, whether you feel like one or not. So here is what I am asking you to do. 3 things, simple and specific, because the simplest things done faithfully always outperform the elaborate things done once and then forgotten. And I want to give you these 3 things with real weight, not just as a checklist, but as a genuine invitation to respond to everything we have just talked about. The first thing is this: have a conversation today, not with the dead, because that is not what this is about, but with God about them, about the people who have loved you and gone before you. I want you to thank Him for their love, name them out loud, speak their names in prayer today, acknowledge the investment they made in your life, acknowledge the prayers they prayed that you know about, and the ones you will never know about on this side. Thank God that their love did not die. Thank Him that they are okay. Let yourself feel the weight of the fact that you are surrounded, that you are not alone, that you have never been alone for a single moment of your entire life. And let me tell you what this kind of prayer does. It breaks agreement with the lie that you are doing this alone. It interrupts the narrative that loss equals total disconnection, and it positions your heart to receive the inheritance of what was invested in you rather than just grieving the investor. There's a difference between honoring someone by missing them and honoring someone by receiving what they gave. Both matter, but we tend to do the first and neglect the second. This prayer is about the second. The second thing, identify the one area of your life right now where you have been going through the motions. Just one area, the one place where you are present in body but absent in purpose, where you are doing the thing but not really investing in it anymore, where you have started to give up on something that someone who loved you and who has gone before you prayed for. Ask yourself honestly whether that is the area where someone's prayers are still waiting for you to receive them, whether that is the arena where someone wore out their knees for you. Because if it is, you do not have permission to quit, not because you owe them and not because you have to perform, but because love that's specific, love that sustained, love that kept praying when there was nothing to point to, deserves a response that is at least as serious as the prayer. And I want to say something gently here. Sometimes the reason we have let that area go is not rebellion, it is grief. We stopped doing the thing because the thing reminded us of them. We walked away from the dream because they were the one who believed in the dream, and without them there, the dream started to feel like a reminder of everything that is gone. If that is you, I understand, I really do. But hear me, honoring them by abandoning what they prayed for is not actually honor. True honor looks like picking it back up, like saying, because you believed in this, I am going to keep going. Because you prayed for this, I refuse to let it die in me. The third thing, write a name down. Get a piece of paper or open your notes on your phone and write the name of the person who came to mind during this message, the one whose face appeared when I started talking. And underneath their name, write this: they are watching, they are cheering, their love did not die. Then put it somewhere you will see it: your bathroom mirror, your desk, your car visor, your phone wallpaper. Not as a memorial, not as an invitation to grieve, as fuel, as a reminder every single morning that you are being witnessed, that you are surrounded by a great cloud of people who know your name and your story, and the specific prayers that were prayed for the specific life you are still living. Because here is what happens when you see that name every day. You start to live with an awareness of witness. You start making decisions differently, not out of fear, out of love, out of a desire to give them something worth witnessing, out of the decision that if they can see what they see is going to be worth the seeing. And that shift, that small daily shift in awareness, is what I believe changes trajectories. Not one dramatic moment, one small daily decision to live like someone is watching and to let that motivate you forward rather than haunt you. I want to lead you in a prayer right now, and I want to be very clear about what kind of prayer this is. This is not a prayer to the dead, not communication with the departed. This is a prayer about them and for you, a prayer of gratitude and intention and decision. Say this with me. Father, I thank you for every person who loved me and who has gone before me. I thank you that their love did not die when they did. I thank you that they are in your presence, that they are okay, that they are more than okay, and that everything that was painful and confusing and incomplete from where I stood has been resolved from where they now stand. I release the grief that has been keeping me from receiving the inheritance of what they poured into me. I choose today to honor the investment they made in my life, not by mourning it, but by living it. I choose to run my race with intention. I choose to take the area where I have been shrinking back and to step into it because someone prayed me toward it. Let their witness be wind at my back. Let the awareness of the cloud be fuel in my chest. I receive it all today. In the name of Jesus, amen. And if you prayed that prayer and something moved in you, I want you to sit with that for a moment. Do not rush past it. Do not immediately pick up your phone or turn on something to fill the quiet. Sit with what just happened. Because sometimes the holiest thing you can do after a moment like this is just be still in it. Let it settle into the deeper places before the noise of the day comes back in. Let the truth you just received actually land. You just made a decision. Honor it by giving it a few minutes of quiet. If that prayer moves something in you, I need you to do one more thing before you leave. Share this video right now, not after you finish. Now, because you know someone. You know someone who is drowning in loss, who lost the person who was their anchor, and they are drifting now, purposeless because the one who believed in them is gone, and nobody has told them that the believing did not stop. You know someone who has been using grief as a reason to stop hoping, to stop trying, to stop running, because they have forgotten that the cloud is real, that the witnesses are real, that the cheering is real. Send this to that person right now. Open a message, paste the link, say I thought of you when I watched this. That is all you have to say. Just send it. Let what was planted in you tonight be planted in someone else by morning. I am looking at the clock and it is 5:21 in the morning. I have been here for an hour and 34 minutes. My hands are still not completely steady, but something in me has settled that was not settled when I started. Because there is always a settling on the other side of obedience, always a peace that comes when you say the thing you were asked to say, even when it was frightening, even when it cost you something. The settling is the confirmation. The peace that passes understanding is the receipt. And I want to say one more thing before I go, something that I think some of you need to hear directly. There may be someone watching this who has been carrying guilt about a relationship that ended before the person died, a friendship that fractured, a family relationship that had distance in it, a conversation that never happened, words that were never said, And the grief of loss is complicated by the grief of what was unfinished, what was unresolved, what was left on the table when time ran out. And I want to speak to you specifically for just a moment. He showed me something about this too. He showed me that from where they are, the complicated things are not complicated anymore. The ones who passed, who had unresolved things with you, the ones where there was hurt or distance or silence, they see the full story from where they are now. They see why things happened the way they did. They see your heart in a way that was sometimes obscured while they were here. And the vast majority of the people who have gone before you, even the ones where it was complicated, would tell you the same thing that the ones with uncomplicated relationships would tell you. Finish strong. Do not let guilt be the thing that keeps you small. Do not let what was unresolved become the reason you stop running. Let love be the motivation. Let the knowledge that you are surrounded and witnessed and cheered be the thing that calls you forward. Not the weight of what was left unsaid. Forward. Always forward. I do not know all the names of everyone who is going to watch this. I do not know all the stories. I do not know all the people you have lost or all the prayers that were prayed over you that you will carry for the rest of your life. But He knows. He knows every single name, every single story, every single prayer. And I believe with everything in me that if this video found you, it found you on purpose. That something or someone is part of the reason it did. I know how that sounds. I am saying it anyway. Here is what I want to leave you with. The ones we have lost who died in faith are not gone in the way we fear they are gone. The love is not gone. The prayers are not gone. The investment is not gone. It is waiting to be honored. It is alive and moving and waiting to see what you will do with it. And the God who holds them is the same God who is holding you right now. The same arms that welcome them home are the arms you are in. You are not doing this alone. You have never been doing this alone, not for a single second of your entire life. There is more from that night that I have not shared yet. Things that came after those 7 that I am still processing. Things about how the prayers of the departed continue to move in ways we cannot see or track or even imagine. Things about specific promises He made regarding those who finish well and what waits at the end of the race for those who run it all the way to the line. But that is for another night. For now, I want you to go do the 3 things. Have the conversation, identify the area, write the name, and live like someone is watching. Because they are. And they are proud of you for being here. They are proud of you for staying. They are cheering you. And you are going to make it across that finish line. I believe that for you. I am going to keep believing it until you believe it for yourself.